Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. This is episode 2023.6. As usual, I'm here with Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Rohan. How's it going?
Good. This episode is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports the Home Assistant and the ESPHome projects. Configuration's all done through the user interface, so there's no fiddling with router settings or SSL certs or YAML or anything like that.
2023.6. So what does that mean? Is this the...
Means half the year's almost
release?
done.
Yeah, half the, or do you count as July releases right now we're starting the second half? I don't know. Yeah, that's cool. I think it's a standard release this time around, a classic release, some good features, but you'll break them all down. I think the big feature out of this release, Rohan, which I'm jealous of the Home Assistant OS users out there, is network storage configuration within Home Assistant now. So if you are running Home Assistant OS, or if you've got like a yellow or a blue, you now have the ability to configure a network mount point from within Home Assistant. There's a nice UI for it. It actually looks pretty slick. So a great use case for this is if you want to have offsite backups. So now you can have your Raspberry Pi with an SD card running, and then you can also mount, like your Synology NAS or your Kidnap NAS, or even a Windows NFS share somewhere. Yeah. You can mount that inside your Home Assistant now and select that as a target for where Home Assistant should save backups to.
Yeah. And I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, it's all of my Home Assistant stuff is actually stored in on a NAS, right? So for those that aren't aware, I use Home Assistant in a container flavor. So I'm not running the supervisor or anything like that. Just straight containers. I manage the Docker Compose file and so on and so forth. Any services I want to add, I just add manually. But where all those configs are stored is actually on my NAS, which is regularly backed up and such. So that runs through a nightly backup. And the NAS itself has a backup. There's a drive on there for extra backup. And then it actually synchronizes on in an offsite backup location nightly as well, right? So you can, again, there's definitely benefits of throwing it on a NAS, and I do strongly suggest that. But yeah, you don't have to have supervisor. It's nice because it's in the UI. But mine's actually at the OS level, so I can blow away the entire OS. I can put it back, and I really just need to mount the NAS again and just Docker Compose up, right? So, but either way, strongly suggest it. It's great. Do it. If you have a NAS. Now, NAS can be kind of expensive. It might just be a laptop running a NFS share or something like that, right? So
you've got your whole config folder, I'm guessing, mounted from a symlink to your NAS.
Yeah. So all of basically everything that's in Home Assistant maps to my NAS. So all the recorder stuff, all of the configs, everything.
Do you find that introduces any overhead to running Home Assistant? Because now all of a sudden you've got your server one location that then has to, if it wants to save a log, it's now having to transfer over the network to the NAS.
No, it's not bad at all.
No?
It's not bad at all. No. There are some applications that would that get affected by that. Home Assistant is not one of them. Home Assistant is actually pretty efficient. And we've talked about this in several episodes, especially with all the stuff they're doing with the database and stuff like that. It's actually very efficient. So it's not, it hasn't really been a concern for me. Performance was never an issue. It actually works really well. I've got a QNAP 4-bay NAS that I got like 6 years ago or 8 years ago, whenever I moved into this house. And yeah, it works extremely well. Again, it's not a plug for them. I mean, use whatever NAS you want, until they start paying us, in which case at that point, then you can start using what we suggest. Okay. No, but, yeah, it works really well. I haven't had very much performance issues or anything like that. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I was always, for me, it just seems like that creates another dependency on your network. If for whatever reason your network's down, then Home Assistant can't read its configs or can't write to the configs, which then creates an issue there. And you've also got, both systems, both hardware need to be online, both the server and your NAS for Home Assistant to boot.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, my NAS is probably more reliable than my server. And again, with 4 drives, because I have them in a RAID configuration, right? So if one of them dies, it'll still keep running. I just have to replace that drive. And everything is plugged into my UPS. Actually, currently nothing is plugged into my UPS because my UPS needed a battery replacement. I've changed the batteries, just haven't moved. I haven't had time to shut everything down safely and do everything. But normally it is on a UPS, and that's typically not a concern, right? So,
do you have a UPS that's integrated into Home Assistant?
No, it's a crappy old UPS. But it is plugged into my NAS though, because if it does lose power for, I want to say like more than 4 minutes or something, it'll safely shut down the NAS.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So I do strongly suggest doing those kind of things. All right, moving on. The color dialog. So it's the little pop-up that pops up to say, hey, what color do you want your lights to be or whatever. Now supports the ability to set some favorite colors. So that's nice because a lot of times if you only use a couple of different colors, just like me, like for those of you that are watching on YouTube, the lights behind me are little Govee lights that are connected to Home Assistant. But I pretty much only use this color. And there's, sometimes I may change it up a little bit, whatever, but then I have to go back and find what color I care about, whatever. So it's a nice little feature. I like that.
And consistent, right? Then you're not dragging a little color wheel to the approximate color that you wanted.
Yeah, it's the exact one that every time, right? So, and I guess you can rearrange them through drag and drop. So just press and hold, move it over, or whatever, right? So it's nice.
So probably the biggest impactful change that this release is going to bring into, everyone's going to feel, no matter what version of Home Assistant you're running or what flavor of Home Assistant, is the integration page. So it's had some cosmetic changes, to say the least. They're very noticeable. It was a bit jarring when I first loaded it up. I was like, oh, where's all my stuff, right? So there's new badges to show which integrations are using the cloud, which integrations have come installed from a custom package like Hacks. They've also moved some things around to make the UI a bit cleaner. So if there's an error with an integration, it won't necessarily tell you what the error is. You may have to go into the new integration page to see what that error is. So there will be sort of like a new middle step, if that makes sense. Where you can go and see, what integration stuff is going on, what devices it has, and all that. I am a fan of the change. I wasn't originally when I first saw it. I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, the way things flow around, yes, it adds maybe a couple more clicks here and there. But the way things can be grouped nicely, and you move around the system a little bit, it does. It feels more polished, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. I was actually just looking at it as you were talking, and it's nice.
Yeah.
Right. It looks a lot more organized. It's exactly what you would want from it. Right. It's informative. It's I don't know. It's there. It looks good. I'm all for it.
And I think previously, when there was an issue with an integration, depending on the error message, things could span different lines and things would get sort of out of whack, or, half the error message was cut off and you couldn't read it anyway. This way, you click into the integration, it'll tell you what's going on and how to repair it and all that's much better.
Which is nice. The automation UI. So if you frequently do make automations within Home Assistant in that UI, you can now copy and paste conditions, triggers, and actions from one automation to another. In the past, you had to go flip it to YAML mode, copy the YAML, move it, go to your new automation that you want to make, paste it in there, and then make any modifications you wanted to. But now you can just select the entire bunch of blocks that you want to change that you want to copy and paste those in. So that's kind of nice.
I really like, not having to switch. That seems like an anti-pattern, right? When you have to switch to YAML to then copy the same block into another automation. So that seems really good. I also think, I haven't tested it, but this might be available for any scripts that you might be building in the UI too. So can't say it's not. It's all the same UI.
So
it's handy, right?
That's true.
If maybe you've got an automation that you want to move into a script so you can reuse it in different places, you can just copy and paste things around. I think it's also maybe support cut and paste as well if you want to move things. But yeah, it's part of that 3-dot menu. Pull it down.
Yeah, play with it.
All right. This is one I am a big fan of for this release. Finally, it's happened. The related information dialog has been updated. Doesn't look ugly anymore. So yeah, when you open up a device and you click related, you can now see all the related entities, what device it belongs to, what automations was. It's all the same information that was there in the previous release. It just makes much more sense, and it's not a big, huge wall of text and a bullet point list of links. Interestingly, though, and something that's a little cool add-on too, is the related information can now also highlight a blueprint that was created from an automation. So if you create an automation from this blueprint, you can now go, all right, show me all automations that were created from this blueprint, and potentially show me all, when you ring a device, you can go, okay, this device is using this automation created from this blueprint. So it's a nice way.
So if you use one blueprint to do multiple things, like for example, like, hey, turn on this light when motion is detected, whatever, something simple, or maybe repeatable, right? So from that blueprint, it'll go in and say, hey, here's all your automation. So that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
In case you want to make some changes across the board. So that is handy. Back by popular request. So the last time an entity was changed is now in the entity dialog. So if you remember, the entity dialogs have changed over time. So when you click on, like, for example, bedroom lights, you'll see the slider, the new slider view, so on and so forth. I guess one of the things that was lacking, and I actually never noticed this, was when that state had changed. So, for example, it was turned on an hour ago, whatever that is, right? So that hour ago part was missing. And it sounds like you can even click it and then it'll say, like, it'll actually tell you, like, hey, it changed at 12:43 a.m., like whatever that might be, right? So, which is, that's handy. I mean, I think it was there before, so I guess it's there.
Yeah, it was in the classic.
It was in the dialogue, I think I remember seeing that.
It's still there if you're not using, like, if you open up a binary sensor or a sensor that's not using these new dialogue formats, it's there, right? But when the new covers and the lights and all that, when they started getting fancy with their dialogues, that information it was there in the history. It was hidden away in the history, if that makes sense.
Right.
But now it's right there in front of you.
Yeah, because I just opened up something that hasn't been updated.
Yeah.
And it shows 15 minutes ago. And yeah. Interesting.
All right. Python 3.11 is now being used in Home Assistant. So there should be, and this is pretty amazing, a 5 to 30% speed increase should be experienced when you're using Home Assistant now. So I think every release is always a speed improvement, but more the merrier. There is going to be some breaking changes and some changes to the Python support, which we'll mention in the breaking changes coming up too.
Yeah, but the cool thing is, if you run container or if it's a supervised version, you don't really need to care. Just update,
it's done,
and it'll pop up. So, ZwaveJS is now a platinum level integration, which is very fancy. So Nabukasa,
who's the best quality.
That's right. Nabukasa, who supports, so they support the ZwaveJS project as with ESPHome and so on. So they've got a goal to get ZwaveJS Z-Wave certified, or Z-Wave certified. So get it officially certified, get the rubber stamp from the powers that be, whoever that is. I guess that'd be Silicon Labs, technically, right? So so, and because of that, there's actually some changes to some edge cases just to bring ZwaveJS more compliant towards what the spec should be, right? So, so now, for example, there's support for window covers, which improves supports for blind tilt devices, right? So things like eye blinds, and then better device support for energy information that for Z-Wave devices. So kind of cool. I'm glad to see that. Then that way it is kind of standard rubber stamped, and you're not going to have any deviation from that. So that's actually really good to see. And
yeah, so ZwaveJS is starting to use a tool that's pushed out by either the Z-Wave Alliance or Silicon Labs, basically to test your products, to make sure are they compliant with the certification. And Home Assistant has found, ZwaveJS team have found a lot of edge cases which they're currently not compliant with, and they just found an automated tool to say, yep, fix this bug, right? And I think we're going to see a lot of bugs being squashed over the next 5 to 6 months, which is, it's going to be tedious work, but it gets us closer to certification, and it also means a more reliable and more stable Z-Wave integration.
Do we know what the timeline for certification is, or is that just kind of somebody submits something somewhere and then it goes off into whatever abyss and then eventually comes out saying yay
I'd have
nay?
no idea how. I'm sure there'd be a whole process, and
I'm assuming there's a process.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't think it's going to be like an Apple app, getting reviewed or anything. It's probably going to be a bit more involved.
Yeah.
All right. New entities are now introduced in this release. No integrations are using them yet. They're that new, but there is support for date, time, and date time entities. So these are exclusive new types of entities. So some example use cases could be an integration allowing an alarm to be set from the interface. So I think Sonos exposes if you've got an alarm on a Sonos speaker, currently they're in just as a sense like the next alarm date time. Now you could have an actual entity, and you would click into the entity on your dashboard, and you'd be able to change the time, for example, and it would just change the time. So I look forward to seeing that being used through some integrations over the next few releases.
Service UI. So it's gotten a little bit of loving, I guess. So options that are shown in the service UI will only show options that are actually supported by the device. So for example, if you pick a light and the light doesn't support your color changes, then you won't see those options. Makes sense. Right. So
this one, finally, as well, right? Every time I've wanted to change, going to the developer tools, and I've selected a light, and there's just so many options, and my light
half of them don't even apply.
Yeah, I've got a white color light, right? But I don't need what's color name, what's color RGB, all that other stuff, because the light doesn't support it. Even blinds, I have up and down rollers. I don't need tilt and angle and all that other options that are there. So being able to tailor that UI. It should also apply when you're building automations. So not only just from the developer's tool, but when you're building automations or scripts from the UI, that should also apply as well.
That's
all right. Roborock. More entities have been added to the Roborock integration. So you'll start seeing, if you are using a Roborock vacuum, you'll start seeing a few more information coming into Home Assistant.
You just got one.
I did. I've always said that Home Assistant is my shopping list, the integration page. And 2023.5, the Roborock integration officially landed in Home Assistant, and that was my trigger. I was like, that's it.
Done.
I'm doing it. And so I am the proud owner of the Roborock S7 Max V Ultra. Now it is... The S8 has just come out. I thought I got, with the S8 coming out, and I think they were out of stock. I'm like, I'm not justifying waiting a few months. Was it any
cheaper at least?
Yeah, much cheaper. I think I saved about $1,000. So
beautiful. Better
in my pocket, and I get a cleaner right now. Absolutely thrilled with the thing. What I will say though is the Roborock integration in Home Assistant, there's actually a custom version of the Roborock integration available in Hacks, and it looks like either the same developer is doing the official integration, or the team is. But I think I was reading a GitHub issue. It's about 50-50. Half of people are using the official integration, half the people are using the integration in Hacks. I've moved over to the one in Hacks only because I want all the stuff that hasn't made it into the stable official integration yet. So the integration in Hacks has things like being able to see the map, a ton more sensors, so I can now see, the water needs emptying. I can get an alert through Home Assistant as opposed to getting it through the app. The ability to trigger zones, trigger rooms, I think is all in there. I haven't I'm still using the Roborock app for the time being, but my eventual goal is to be able to automate the cleaning of certain rooms through Home Assistant, so I don't have to worry about when it's going to have to open up the Roborock app. Not that there's anything wrong with the app itself. It's just I'd rather be able to just do another way to tell where to clean.
Well, I mean, it's also just another app to have, right? Otherwise,
right.
I get it.
Like my wife doesn't have the app, for her to right now I am the master of the robot vacuum. Yes. Does she want to download another app on her phone and teach her how to use it, or can I just somehow make it easier and have it all work through Home Assistant? And the ultimate goal, even potentially like the Amazon Echo or something like that, and say, "Hey, little lady, tell the robot vacuum cleaner to go clean under the dining room table" or something. Yeah. That would be ideal.
Yeah. So and so how do you like it overall? Like,
very impressed. It's been a few years since I've owned a robot vacuum, like one of these circle vacuums that do it itself.
Yep.
I had, maybe like 2014, 15, maybe even earlier, a Samsung, like when one of their first model robot vacuum cleaners.
Did not even know they made them. That's cool.
I know, right? I don't know if they even still do. And it had a little remote that you could move around manually. I ended up selling it on eBay because it just wasn't for my apartment. It wasn't any good, and I found it would more push dirt around than actually suck it up, if that makes sense. But
that sucks.
The Roborock with the mop and the vacuum and its avoidance technology, it's just a whole new level. We actually come home and the house looks clean. You can actually see how clean the house is. And we've got a lot of floorboards in our house, so only 2 rooms have carpet, so we would do a lot of mopping and how it's all done. Because I think you've got the D-Bot or EcoVac or something.
I've got the D-Bot, X1 Omni. I swear the names are just the worst. But so it's same thing. Love it. I use it pretty much daily. And I don't know. It works really well. It does the same thing like you said, right? Like my previous, I had one of the original like Roomba, like probably not first generation, maybe second generation. Like it didn't have Wi-Fi or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was all right. Like it did its job. The main advantage I had with that was it would get under the bed, right? So that was a big selling point for me too. There, it's like, okay, I don't have to go in and like move the bed or like bend down, get underneath and move the little vacuum. But but compared to that one, like this is like a bajillion times better. Like it's just, it's. I do really like it. So it's only thing is it is very cloud dependent, which is not the best, but I don't know. I've seen some of the other ones, but they don't have like it's about the convenience, right? At the end of the day. So it doesn't have like some of the other ones don't have the like where it'll empty the canister and then it'll clean the mop itself and like so on and so forth, right? So and that's where I'm kind of like, okay, well this does all of that. So that was a big selling point. And same with yours, right? So I think those are the 2 kind of more popular ones. I haven't seen any self-hosted or like cloudless locally hosted kind of ones that actually have those same features, right? So
because that would have been ideal.
Yeah, I think the Roomba version of something like that, it's not great, like in terms of its actual like the job that it does. I don't think they have an all-encompassing one. Maybe. Oh no, they do. I think, but it's not. Just the reviews I saw online were not good. So It's kind of the worst of the three. So I decided, no, I don't want to do it. But apparently that's the best one that works offline. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, well,
I don't know.
I remember one of the first things you said was you were shocked at how much like black water came out of the dirty.
Yeah, it was gross
thing, right? Same here. I'm surprised at how much black water, like how much filth there is on our floors.
And it cleans like all the time, right? So it's it's pretty gnarly. So
have you automated your vacuum in Home Assistant yet, or are you still using the app to do like manual schedules?
A bit of both. So schedule is right now is still manual. But I do have the ability, like in Home Assistant, I created a couple of scripts just to go, hey, go run this, go clean the living room, kitchen area, right? Like,
yep.
So whatever that is, I do have those in there. I haven't automated those yet. That is on my to-do list. So basically, one of the more annoying things is just because, again, I work from home. So during the day, actually, my like the mic does a pretty good job of excluding that, and we actually use a little tool to filter out some stuff from noise and stuff that Phil and I both use as well. So between those, it actually completely avoids the sound. I've had it even go in and empty the canister, and just relatively, it is physically right next to me right now, right? Mm-hmm. So even if I did run the vacuum, you actually won't hear it on my mic, just again through software and the mic itself, based on how directional it is. But because of that, I've still been a little hesitant to run it during the day while I'm on calls and stuff.
Just because people on the calls can't hear it doesn't mean you can't hear it, right? Like you would still be able to hear it, and it would distract you.
Yeah, and it's distracting, right? So exactly. So if I'm presenting or doing something like that, the last thing I want is just like a really loud sound.
100%.
Even if I'm wearing headphones or AirPods or something like that, it's still not a pleasant experience for me myself. So so for that reason, I haven't done it. So I'm gonna have an automation for when we're both out. So my wife and I leave, then it can go run. Will it run every day? Then probably not. I did have it running at like 6:00 before, but then that's prime, like, hey, we're cooking or we're eating or something like that time.
Trying to get in
and
the
then
kitchen.
After that, it's kind of too late. And there's no really good time for it to go do its thing. And then after that, it's like, it's late enough and we're watching TV or working still or whatever that is. It's distracting still, right? So I don't know.
Same issue.
Sucks if you're working all day every day.
Yeah, and I've got kids in the mix, right? Like 3-month-old that takes a nap at random times, and emptying the canister on the robot itself. I don't know how it is on yours, but it is bloody loud.
It is. It's extremely loud. I don't know why, but it is. I guess it just needs that suction power. I guess that's why. But there's no good way of insulating it. I don't know. But,
and so you're not running that thing at like 3 a.m. when everyone's asleep, right? Like it's pretty loud.
No. Though I did something with what I did with my old Roomba is I actually took it down and stuffed it in the basement, and it just cleans the finished portion of my basement.
Yep.
And that's carpeted down there and from like the previous owner or whatever. So, but I just got it set up again, and I set up the time and everything. And I guess as part of that, at some point, I must have said like, hey, schedule this to go off on like, I don't even know what days, but like random days that you'll just hear it spin up at like 1 a.m. And I'm just like,
oh no.
Have I done anything about it? No.
No, just too lazy to fix that.
But now I think I have to, because I was traveling for work earlier this week, and my wife texted me being like, can you turn off the vacuum? And it was like past midnight. I was like, I can't. It's not connected. So
is that connected to Home Assistant at all, or is it?
No. It's pre-Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi. It can't be connected. It's got like you said, it's got an old school remote control, like a IR blaster. So
that's frustrating.
It is. But it is what it is. All right. KNX. It's got its own control panel now. That is all. It's nice, right? I mean, if you do have a KNX integration running, again, if you're using any devices from KNX, they do other automation stuff too, right? So
yeah, and I think just moving a lot of those configuration options into like a whole panel now, it's going to be a lot nicer. And there are there's a few good people that like it's a popular integration, but it sounds of it, especially in Europe, for those that have it in their house. So yeah. We've had a couple of folks on here in the past that run KNX at home and such as well. So it is cool. But yeah, it's nice that it can run its own configuration panel. That's pretty handy. So Samsung TVs now have a remote entity allowing you to send remote key presses directly to your TV. So if you want to do up, down, left, right, open up an app, you can now automate that.
So I have a Samsung TV and I have it in Home Assistant. I've used I think pretty much every Hacks integration there is.
Yeah.
It's not the developers, it's the TV. It just does not want to be automated or it's just.
How old is your TV? Have you got like a frame TV or just a standard Samsung?
No, it's a frame one.
Really?
So it runs their crappy Tizen OS or whatever it is, right? So it's not Android. It's not standard Android. It's some customized offshoot that they decided they wanted to do. So, which I think WebOS, the LG ones, are still Android enough that you can do it. Is that am I mistaken? I don't have an LG. So
I'm not sure. I have an LG WebOS. I haven't seen any Androidiness in it, but I do like the integration Home Assistant has with WebOS. I think it's one of it was the reason I chose LG, right? Because of the integration with Home Assistant. Once again, it's a solid integration.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Samsung one, it's you got to go in. I'm trying to think if this is still the case. I think I had to download the SmartThings app, sign in, get it to actually initialize on that. I don't know what I actually did. It was a while ago, but and hopefully it's better. But the only thing I use it for is when nobody is home, turn off the TV because sometimes we forget whatever.
Yep. Turn the TV,
and not just go to frame mode, turn it off, right? So and then when I come home, I'll just press the power or whatever. It's fine. So that's what we do.
Have you got the ability to change what's shown on the frame through Home Assistant?
Not that
can you change the picture?
Not that I've seen. No. They are very. I don't know. I don't want to go off on a Samsung bashing spree. It is a good TV. I actually genuinely like the TV. It sounds nice, whatever. But it's from an automation perspective, it is terrible. From a and keeping in mind, Samsung would probably want to keep it closed to some things, right? As much as they can. I don't know. I just find that if I can't natively use it well, it's just a hack at that point, right?
Yeah.
So
and it could stop working at any minute.
Yeah, exactly, right. So, and then the other thing is too, it's trying to get it to open Netflix or open Plex or open whatever. You need to put in the app ID and and all of that. And I think I played around with it probably for a day or day and a half, 2 days, whatever it is. And I worked 70% of the time. And I was like, all right, this is just, it's, and again, I don't think it's the actual, the Hacks integration that I put in there. Cause I've tried a few of them and they all consistently gave me similar results, which makes me think that it's not that it's the actual TBOS.
Yeah. Cause I was tempted to buy, I really like aesthetically the frame just for the fact that it can hide on the wall as a picture, right? And I was even tempted to get rid of the LG. But if I can't control the artwork that's displayed, then it's sort of a red flag
you can control the artwork, just not through Home Assistant.
No, it needs to be. I don't care about any other. I want Home Assistant, right?
You're thinking going through Media Browser, say, hey, I like these pictures, and push those. Yeah, I haven't seen a way of doing that. Maybe there is. I was so put off by this. This was probably like a year or two ago that I did this, and I was so put off by the whole experience that I just left it. Right? It's in there. Like I said, all it does is fully turn off the TV when both of us leave. That's the only automation I have in here. And for a while, I had it doing that when we said goodnight. And then I think I disabled that. Yes, I did disable that because basically my wife was saying goodnight too often while I was still watching TV. And then I actually put in a check to say, hey, if the TV is on, then do it and stuff. And it worked, but I just didn't really add any value because I changed the functionality and I gave her a little remote button, and now that turns off her lights. So, what's
the protocol of the remote button?
This one's just a BLE one. Yeah, it's a BLE one, but you can like any remote button, right? Like you can use. This is one I just have from work, so
nice.
Yeah, so I use that. Works great, and but yeah,
and it's picked up by ESPHome, I'm guessing.
MQTT actually. So nice. Yeah. So again, like I said, this is like a work one, so it's just like we actually manufacture and sell these, but it's they're actually pretty neat. But it uses it uses like an encrypted BLE connection, so on and so forth. So, but one of the features is it can dump out into MQTT,
and then Home Assistant can of course read that, and away you go.
Yeah. So that's what I do with that, and then based on that, long press and short press give you different things. So if she long presses, then it'll turn off like both of our like my bedside lamp and hers. And sorry, that's a short press will turn those two off. Long press will turn those two and the hallway light off.
Nice.
So that again, in case the door's not fully shut, the light doesn't come in, that kind of thing. But spent a lot of time of how annoyed I am with the Samsung TV thing. All right, let's keep going. Accuweather. So the Accuweather now integration now provides sensors for the weather condition. Wow, I just struggling all of a sudden. All right, let's try this again. The Accuweather integration now provides sensors for the weather condition and the solar radiance values. That's cool. That's, I guess, again, one of the things I realize is a lot of people like seeing like a lot of these values and things like that. And weather condition, I totally get too. But I'm not one of those people that, around the solar radiance values and stuff like that. But I do think it's cool because you can, again, if you have a good idea of what to do with those kind of things, then hey, it's there. The information's there. Use it.
Yep, definitely. All right. Some new integrations in 2023.6. First one, Google Generative AI. So like ChatGPT, it can't control your house, but you can converse with the generative API, generative AI. So that is now available as an option for you.
That's cool. YouTube. So there's a YouTube integration in. So for following a channel, I strongly suggest the HK Media channel, where you'll get to see us. So the Home Assistant podcast and the Altics Smart Home Show. So you can follow the channel there and then see the number of subscribers and so on and so forth.
What I don't like about the documentation for Home Assistant at the moment is like the integration page was great for telling you how to activate this YouTube integration. Like you need this API key and all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't tell you what sensors and what values you can get from that. Like I would be interested to know, like what, without diving into the pull request, what data does that activating that YouTube integration actually give me? But I'm pretty sure number of subscribers, and I'm hoping eventually maybe be like, what's the latest video title available? So then you can do like when that sensor changes, you can get an alert. Hey, your channel that you're following through Home Assistant has now got a new video, something like that.
Yeah, and if you already use things like the Google Mail, Google Sheets, Google, not the Google Calendar, but Google Mail and Google Sheets and such, you can actually use the same developer credentials that you generated for those in this as well. So that's kind of nice. If you already have it in there, then it's just easy. It's
nice.
Kind of already done the footwork. But yeah, I find the YouTube API very annoying to just to generate that whole process is just, I don't know. I feel like it's way too complicated.
I find any Google API, like trying to work out how to use their developer console and what button to push, it's like, I feel it's more complicated to fly. No, it's less complicated to fly a jet engine than it is to go through some of these admin consoles.
It's I'm telling you, right? It's like this is in one spot here, and it's like hidden behind 3 different little things, and like you gotta. I don't know. I appreciate the depth of their of that whole platform, but just make it easy. It's I feel like it's too complex. Especially when you're talking again. I'm not a developer, right? So as a non-developer, it's annoyingly complicated. Because again, what if I just want to bring in things in a home assistant? So, yeah, that's my rant.
That's your rant? Rant over. Excellent.
Yeah.
Do better, YouTube.
One of many rants today.
JVC projectors are now available in Home Assistant, so you can now detect if the projector is on. And then I guess you can then automate, a screen coming down. When the projector goes off, put the screen up. Yeah.
Can you actually control the projector itself or no?
I'm unsure. I don't have I'm not fancy enough to get one of these projectors.
So they're expensive. Projectors are. Yeah. Unless you get the little like Pico projectors, which I've heard mixed takes. Some people are like, these are the best things since sliced bread. Some people are like, the quality's crap. Like,
are they the ones that depends. Look like they're on a sound bar, like flat on your entertainment unit, but they're actually projecting up? Because there's new ones like that I've seen in the stores now.
Oh, no. Those are the ultra short throw ones.
Gotcha.
Those are, I want one pretty badly and I cannot afford that. So those are like $3,000-4,000. Because they're super short throw, right? You put them pretty much not right up against the wall, but you can actually put them up against the wall, whatever, and it just kind of projects a nice screen there. I've seen a few people with them, and they're so slick. No, the Pico projectors I'm talking about are they're like little I don't know, they look like little portable hard drives, or sometimes they're a little bigger. I think Anker has one that looks like a regular Amazon Echo, like the cylindrical style.
Like you can take
one of the ones that's behind me here in this case, if you're watching. So they're kind of cool. But I've heard mixed things. I haven't used one myself, but judging
by how cheap they are, I've always tried to avoid them.
Yeah. I'm guessing you get what you pay for. But an integration that can control stuff is the Electra Smart Control. The Electra Smart Air Conditioner, which is another new integration into a home assistant. So you can control your AC that are Electra Air branded.
There you go. Great segue too. Well done.
Yeah. What can I say?
Breaking changes. So I mentioned before the Python version. So we're now supporting 3.11. As of the 3.11 support, Home Assistant will no longer be supporting 2 versions of Python. So previously, Home Assistant would, if they were supporting 3.10, they would also support 3.9 and then deprecate 3.8. So as of the release of Python 3.11, 3.10 is now deprecated. Now, according to the Home Assistant stats, if you've got Home Assistant stats enabled, you're contributing to this data, only 3.67% of users use older versions of Python. So hopefully this change will only affect, less than 4% of active installations out there. It's also worth a mention here, and this is probably one of the driving reasons behind this, is that the Python package manager, pip, I think that's gone, or I'm not too close to Python and how this all works.
No, pip's around.
I don't know if it's the 3.11. I don't know if 3.11 moving forward it's around, or if it's been replaced by something. But anyway, some integrations, which include IBM Watson TTS, have been removed because of upstream package conflicts, which can't be resolved. So Home Assistant has been reaching out to these integrations and these projects saying, hey, you have a package in your upstream requirements that's no longer going to be compatible with 3.11. Now that 3.11 is here, those Python packages themselves haven't upgraded. So for Home Assistant to be compatible with 3.11, we need to remove those integrations. So until those packages get updated, Home Assistant can't carry those integrations moving forward. So yeah, I think it was IBM Watson, and there was one other thing that's also affected there.
That is actually, I didn't even realize there's an IBM Watson.
Yeah, it's like a text-to-speech generative thing.
Neat. That's kind of cool.
Well, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was. I'm still bothered by this. Okay, whatever. I'm sure somebody will tell us if we're wrong. I hope we're wrong.
Yeah, there's definitely a technical reason why these packages have to go, and there is something going along with the package management systems in Python that Home Assistant have made a change for.
It makes sense if the packages themselves, so like Watson package and stuff like that, would be that those have conflicts. I don't know about pip itself, but
I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, persistent notifications also no longer create an entity, which is good. I never really understood why I did that. I guess they just needed a way of delivering it.
But. Yeah, I used to use the entity, so I would know like if a persistent notification was being shown, I could then, if I'm not home, send an alert to my phone. There's better ways to do it now, but that was back in the day. I certainly think there's better ways to do it now. All right. Now, something that we don't have too much details on, but we want to just highlight for you coming up in the next couple of weeks is there's going to be a competition for ESPHome. So watch out on the Home Assistant blog for details. But yeah, if you are interested in ESPHome, again, it's going to be a little competition happening. So watch out for that.
Neat. Keith, welcome aboard. Keith is joining Nabucasa to work on ESPHome full time. That's great.
Yeah, so I think that gives them like 2 full-time people on ESPHome now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So then hopefully there's a ton of cool stuff coming out. Yeah, ESPHome. So
the Android team is working on getting Assist available in the Home Assistant companion app on Android. So hopefully giving you the ability to send voice commands from your phone to Assist instead of Google Assistant. So I know this is possible with, for example, the Amazon Little Lady app. They have the ability, instead of, so on my Samsung, there's Bixby, there's Google Assistant, and there's the Amazon Echo Assistant. If you can actually,
I love that Bixby is still on your phone.
I can't. Yeah, I don't even. It's the first thing you disable too, right? Like and there's a button dedicated to the thing.
I know, it's
and there's
so
apps
good.
created so you can avoid launching Bixby when you accidentally hit that button.
So
anyway,
dumb.
It's ridiculous. It's the first thing any Samsung phone, disable that crap. So there is the ability to choose in Android who your assistant is. So you can choose, Amazon Echo Lady, Bixby, or Google Assistant. The goal here is that Home Assistant want to be able to then say, choose Home Assistant Assist. And then that way, when you long press the button to activate your assistant on your phone, Home Assistant will be there ready to listen to you. So that's good. Hopefully they can get like wake word detection. I know that's sort of like a stretch goal for them. That would be great. I don't think wake word detection is available for the Amazon Echo Lady unless you've got her app open on the phone.
Which makes sense because it's like Android would need to enable that, right? Like, so it's, I don't think it's a dependency on whether it's the Amazon team or the Home Assistant or the Nabucasa team or whoever it is. I don't think it's. I think it's I would assume it's an Android thing. So,
because I know like Google Pixel phones, can always yell out, "Hey Google" too, and the phone could potentially answer. Similar, I think Apple on iOS, you can do like, "Hey Siri," and your phone might, if it's sleeping, answer. So yeah,
as we activated both Android users and Siri right now.
Exactly.
Our bad.
So there you go. Yeah, but yeah, let's see. I think that's some exciting stuff happening there.
Yeah. We had an email from Arno. Arno was talking about, said, just listen to the podcast with Philip about reading data from his gas meter. Basically, the gas meter has a magnet mounted on the rotation disc. And Arno actually went off to say, I made one using a reed switch and ESPHome as a sensor, and it failed. Worked for a while, but then the disk stood still at the wrong place, and it kept adding on consumption where there was none. So I guess that's a bad thing, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, I didn't really know how these things worked, right? So I think that's what Arno's trying to tell, like, educate us, which is fantastic. I also had a Xiaomi Zigbee door sensor. I took the electronic part out of the plastic housing and placed it where my homemade sensor was, and it's been working for more than a year without an error. That's awesome. Wow. So Arno has a DIY gas meter.
Yep.
That's sweet.
I might have a look, because I've got a couple of the Zigbee door sensors. Maybe I'll consider doing that. I did pull one apart, and it's actually pretty simple to get them to trigger a status update, because you can actually see the magnet inside the electronics, and if you put a wire either side of that magnet, you complete the circuit essentially. So one of my, whenever I get time in the future and for my life, mission I'd like to do is to create a door lock sensor. So we have sliding doors. Not really conducive for a smart lock. So I don't want to leave them unlocked. So I have the theory of when the little pin comes in to close, to actually lock the door, have that would then complete a circuit, and then have a Xiaomi Zigbee door sensor there to then send that to Home Assistant to say on or off. And then I can use the device class in Home Assistant to say door is locked or unlocked. And then I can add that to my leaving routine. Before we leave, make sure all the doors are locked.
So it won't actually lock it for you, but it will.
It's a way for Home Assistant to know this door is unlocked.
Understand that the door is unlocked. Yeah. I mean, you could use like a mag. What are those things called? The little mag locks, magnetic lock things. The electromagnetic ones, right? But I guess there's not a good way of doing that.
No,
you need one that's specifically like shaped for it, I guess.
Yeah,
because it would need to have like a back plate in front, like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas this is sliding away from. Yeah. So that's my project idea for the future. Maybe I'll probably won't get to it though.
Yeah. I mean, so I tried a thing. I know we're not really at time. We can kind of go however long we want, but I tried a thing and it didn't work out. I got these Accuweather vibration sensors, right? So they finally started selling them on like Amazon in Canada, so I don't have to go through AliExpress and whatever.
Nice. You would have had to pay a premium though for that, surely.
It was like $22 or something like that. Okay, so a bit of one, but I think on AliExpress it's like $16 or $17, and it'll take like 3 years to ship. So so it's not too bad. So a little experiment. So I bought 2 of these. I was going to say, okay, one on my dryer, one on my washing machine, just so I can understand when it's on, off. I didn't really want to invest in a basically like a clamp style, like electricity thing, at least for that. And basically I wanted to say, how can I get, basically based on vibration, how can I get it to say the dryer is done, right? And this way it will, even if I'm using a gas dryer at some point, I have a gas connection there. Mine's an electric dryer right now, but if I ever get a gas dryer, then it would work for both solutions, right? So, however, I think the vibration isn't vibrating enough
Interesting.
to actually trigger the sensor, which is, I thought they were fairly sensitive. When I was playing with it, like on the like when I was like I put it on the couch next to me, and I tapped the couch, and it did detect it, but for whatever reason it's not playing it. But right now I just placed it just on top of the washing machine to figure it out. I might stick it to the back and see if that changes anything. Yeah, because I figured maybe that'd be more. Yeah,
I'll send you my washing machine, because my washing machine just doesn't stay still. It vibrates so loud, like it vibrates so much that I'm constantly having to push it back against the wall.
Well, it's weird because mine does at one point. So I guess it's just like in its like final spin cycle, right, to dry the clothes. We just have like a little like glass jar on top of it with like just whatever, like detergent thing, pods or whatever, and the lid will actually like shake, right, and you can hear it like rattling. But it doesn't do that the whole time, right? It just does that for one small bit of it, and I mean, so far, that glass jar has been on there for like 2 years, and it hasn't been enough for it to like vibrate off and fall off or anything like that.
Anything on top of our machine, it's on the floor before the cycle's over.
Wow, so that's So that's my failure for the week, month.
The vibration sensor, it's strange because I had it in the mailbox, and it would sometimes pick up when letters would go through the mailbox, and it would sort of it would get pushed around or something. It would work sometimes not. And then because my mailbox is I wasn't getting good enough range on Zigbee to get it to the mailbox, I then put my vibration sensor under our dining room table, so that when we're having dinner, the idea being we would be cutting with our food, putting our drinks on down, that were causing vibration against the table. But similar to you, it wasn't enough vibration for the sensor to get triggered. Have you had a look in the Home Assistant device page for it, and just check the events that are occurring against the device? Because sometimes it may not trigger a vibration, but it may trigger a tilt event, which doesn't trigger the sensor to change from on to off. And in which case you could then...
Yeah, I did look. I didn't see it. I didn't see anything. And again, I had the logbook going too.
Okay, cool.
And the logbook it was like, nothing has happened. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the washing machine's been on for like 25 minutes now, but so that was my failure for the month. That was one of many failures for the month.
Do you want to hear? This is an embarrassing one, so we'll wrap up after this one. But if we talk about failures, would you like to hear mine?
I've literally got like 4 on the go if you need. So, but yes, continue.
So I wanted to replace a blind on our laundry window. It's like a laundry door. It's an external door. It's got a little window on it, and had some similar to what you've got, Rohan, like some tilt blinds on it. And I could have gone out and got a SwitchBot tilt, but I was like, I don't want another Bluetooth thing. For the price that I'm going to pay for the SwitchBot tilt, I could just go to Ikea and buy a Ikea smart blind, right? And it would be better. Yep. So they didn't have any in stock in Melbourne, but they did have some in another city, Adelaide, and I recently went to Adelaide on a road trip there. So I thought, cool, I'll just go to Adelaide. While I'm there, I'll pick one up. So I brought it home, replace it, no problem. A bit finicky getting the blind into Home Assistant because it's Zigbee and all that. It's there, it's working, it's fine. Anyway, went to open the laundry door the other day and didn't take into account how fat an IKEA blind is, and now I can't open my door completely because the blind hits the wall. So now I have to move. So either return this blind to Ikea, which I've already thrown away the packaging for, and I don't really want to throw it away. I don't
think IKEA needs packaging. I think you can return it. You can return fully installed furniture at IKEA.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's their return policy is actually really good, unless they have a different one for Australia or just for you specifically.
Yeah, for me. Well, now that I've just explained this on the podcast, right? But
right.
my next, I'm now going to have to move the blind above the door frame, and then use Home Assistant to say, all right, when the door's closed, now you can close the blind.
Yeah.
So that's my. Oops, should have checked the measurements first.
Yeah,
and it wasn't anything wrong with the technology. It was just
user
mistake.
Yeah. I've had the worst month for like technology. Like just everything stopped working. My Ecobee once in a while just stops working on Wi-Fi. Like it just drops off of wireless arbitrarily, and I've been going back and forth with support on that, and it's like, and then one of my SwitchBot tilts doesn't charge, I guess, apparently. So that's fun. Yeah, so it's just been, and then I bought a little smart screen scrolly thing, like the Ulanzi one that's been pretty popular lately, like one of these little guys.
Nice.
Yeah, it worked for about 18 hours, maybe. Actually, no, not even. No, probably worked for about 12 hours and then stopped.
Yeah. Stopped working?
Nope.
What'd you do?
That's nothing. Literally. Yeah, like so I brought it into Home Assistant, and I was basically, so there's custom firmware for it that you can push. It's an ESP32 based one, or maybe 82. Yeah, I think it's ESP32 based. So you can push custom firmware to it, whatever. There's ESPHome ones, and then there's other ones. I forgot what it was called, something with an A. So I pushed that to it, and even on their website, they're actually like, hey, if you want some advanced functionality, you can install this firmware. And I was like, great,
cool.
Put it on there. Worked great for, again, a little bit, and I don't think it's a firmware thing. I think it's the box that died, and I was trying to push stuff to it, like from Home Assistant, saying like just testing, like testing 1, 2, 3, like do whatever. And that was it. And then it just stopped responding. So I was like, okay, let me restart it. And now it doesn't turn on.
Yep.
Yeah, so it turned off and does not turn on. And looked on Reddit. Few people had the same issues. So I reached out to them and their support was actually really good until they realized I bought it from AliExpress, not from them directly.
Oh, no.
And then they're like, hey, you got to deal with AliExpress. They gave me an email address. They never emailed back, and then I put it into AliExpress. So I was like, hey, like, I'd like a refund or whatever. And so they the store was actually like, hey, like we'll ship you another one and whatever. So I'm like, okay, so I'm waiting on that. Let's see. Hopefully I have a little better luck with this. And the crappy thing is, I guess it's all like molded plastic, and there's no like, I can't just like open it up without like ripping it apart. Apparently there's a couple of screws under here somewhere that I have to like find and drill through or something like that. I don't know. But
because you could then like try and salvage the ESP, like, and see if there's any way to get into it.
I mean, I guess the only way now I can do it is just get like a Dremel and just rip through it.
Or we've got a really nice paperweight.
That's what I have right now. Is a great paperweight, but I have heard good things about their support. So if anybody does get it, I would say get it from them directly and not AliExpress. Maybe. I don't know, but I've seen reports of a few people running into this, and I don't know exactly what that is. So, no. But a lot of technology fails.
Seems to be the month for it. Yeah. Remind me to tell you about my Z-Wave story another time.
Oh, God. All right.
That's it. 2023.6. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
See ya.